The massive council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a structure so large it could be seen from distant planets. Inside, 17 different alien species sat in their designated seats, waiting. The air felt heavy with tension. At the center of the circular room stood one human, Ambassador Taewon Kim, dressed in a simple black uniform, with no decorations or medals. The Vrelian High Chancellor rose from his elevated platform. His blue skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and his 4 eyes focused on the lone human below. Ambassador Kim, this council has shown great patience with your species. We offer you peace once again. Surrender your colonies in the Andromeda sector. Accept our protection. Join the galactic community as a protected species under our guidance. Taewon stood perfectly still. His face showed no emotion. Around him, alien representatives whispered to each other in their various languages. Some looked annoyed, others appeared confused, and a few seemed genuinely curious about what the human would say. No, Taewon said simply. The word echoed in the vast chamber. The Chixthar War Marshal slammed his massive clawed hand on his desk. The creature stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in thick, armor-like skin. Your species possesses only 200 warships. We have thousands. Your technology is centuries behind ours. You cannot win this fight. Why do you refuse reason? Taewon allowed himself a small smile. We have already won 3 times, War Marshal. Your fleets came to bring us peace, and we sent them home in pieces. Angry sounds filled the chamber. Several ambassadors stood up, shouting in their native tongues. The Vrelian Chancellor raised his hand for silence. Those were limited engagements. We showed restraint. We attempted to minimize casualties on both sides. You mistake our mercy for weakness, and you mistake our refusal for ignorance, Taewon replied calmly. We understand your offer perfectly. You want us to give up our freedom. You want us to let you control our worlds, our resources, our future. You call it protection. We call it slavery. Back on Earth, Mi Young Park watched the live transmission from her office in the Strategic Command Building. The room around her was filled with monitors showing military positions, fleet movements, and communication channels. She was a small woman, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her fingers drummed on the desk as she listened to Taewon speak. How is the council reacting? Asked Dongmin Cho, the fleet admiral who stood behind her. He was a tall man, with gray hair, and a face marked by years of difficult decisions. They are angry, Mi Young said softly. Good. Angry people make mistakes. On the screen, the Vrelian Chancellor spoke again. Ambassador Kim, please understand our position. The galaxy operates under certain rules. Strong species guide weaker ones. This is how peace has been maintained for thousands of years. Your species is new to space travel. You need guidance. You need protection from threats you do not yet understand. Taewon shook his head. You are the threat we understand perfectly. Every species you protect has given up their independence. They cannot make treaties without your approval. They cannot build certain types of ships. They cannot explore beyond boundaries you set. We bring order, the Chancellor insisted. Without order, there is chaos. Without guidance, young species destroy themselves. Then let us destroy ourselves, Taewon said firmly. It is our choice to make, not yours. The War Marshal stood again, his voice filled with barely controlled rage. You speak of choice, human. But you have already made your choice. You have chosen war. 3 times we offered peace. 3 times you attacked our fleets. Do you know how many soldiers died in those battles? Yes, Taewon answered immediately. 23,412 of yours, 5,809 of ours. I know the name of every human who died defending our freedom. The chamber fell silent. Even the translator devices seemed to pause. Mi Young leaned forward in her chair, watching the alien faces on the screen. She saw doubt on some of them, fear on others. That was what she needed to see. The Vrelian Chancellor sat down slowly. His voice became quieter, almost sad. Why are humans so different? Every other species eventually sees reason. They accept that cooperation is better than conflict. They join us willingly after they understand the benefits. What makes your species so stubborn? Tae-Won thought about the question for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. Perhaps we have been conquered too many times in our own history. Perhaps we remember what it means to lose freedom. Perhaps we know that convenience is not worth the price of our soul. Or perhaps we are just too stupid to know when we are beaten. Does the reason matter? It matters because we must decide what to do next, the Chancellor said. This council must vote on whether to launch a full military campaign against humanity. Not a limited engagement, not a peacekeeping mission, a real war. Is that what you want? We want to be left alone, Tae-Won said. But if you will not leave us alone, then yes, we choose war. We choose to fight for our freedom rather than live comfortably in chains. That is what makes humans different, Chancellor. We would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. The voting began immediately. 17 species, each casting their decision. The results appeared on the main display. 14 voted for war. 3 voted to withdraw and leave humanity alone. The Vrelian Chancellor looked tired as he read the results. Ambassador Kim, you have your answer. This council will assemble the largest fleet in our history. We will end this conflict once and for all. You have 30 days to evacuate your colonies in the Andromeda sector. After that, we come in force. Please reconsider. Please choose peace. Tae-Won bowed slightly, a gesture of respect, but not submission. We have already chosen, Chancellor. Come with your fleet. We will be waiting. As the transmission ended, Mi-young turned to Admiral Cho. 30 days. Can we be ready? The Admiral nodded slowly. We have been ready since this began. The real question is whether they are ready for what we will do to them. Mi-young picked up her communication device and began sending orders to every human colony, every ship, every soldier. The message was simple and clear. The enemy was coming in 30 days. Humanity would not surrender. Humanity would not negotiate. Humanity would fight. Admiral Dongmin Cho stood in front of a holographic display showing the Proxima Centauri system. Around him, 50 of his best officers watched quietly. The room was deep underground on Earth, protected by meters of reinforced concrete and energy shields. Every person in this room knew they were planning something that would shock the galaxy. They expect us to fight like them. The Admiral began. His voice was calm and measured. They expect formations, honor codes, and predictable strategies. They have fought wars the same way for thousands of years. This is their weakness. Honestly seen, they have not a gleeding Z, and they har. They have not a gleeding Z. Honestly seen, he touched the display, and images appeared. Recordings from the previous 3 battles against the Council fleets. In each battle, human ships appeared outnumbered and outgunned. But in each battle, humans won. In the first battle, we pretended to retreat. They followed us into an asteroid field, where we had hidden mines and missile platforms. They lost 40 ships before they realized it was a trap. In the second battle, we broadcast surrender signals while our boarding teams infiltrated their capital ships. We took control of their flagships and used their own weapons against them. In the third battle, we used nuclear weapons deployed by simple rockets. They considered such weapons too primitive to defend against. 1. A young captain raised her hand. Admiral, the Council calls our tactics cowardly. They say we fight without honor. Does this concern you? And Dongmin smiled coldly. Honor does not protect colonies. Honor does not save lives. Honor is a luxury for people who are not fighting for survival. We are not here to make friends. We are here to win. Across the solar system on Mars Station, Hee-Jin Lee worked in her laboratory. She was a small woman with permanently stained hands from years of working with chemicals and machines. Around her, dozens of engineers assembled what looked like standard cargo containers. But these containers held something special. "Are you sure this will work?" asked her assistant, a nervous young man named Kwan-ho. Hee-Jin nodded without looking up from her calculations. The Council ships have excellent shields against energy weapons and standard missiles. But their shields are designed by species who follow the Galactic Weapons Treaty. They agreed not to use certain types of weapons because they considered them too dangerous or too dirty. "But we never signed that treaty," Kwan-ho said, understanding spreading across his face. "Exactly. These containers hold nuclear devices wrapped in kinetic penetrators. The first layer gets through their shields using pure speed and mass. The second layer delivers radiation they cannot defend against. It is simple, brutal, and effective. They will call it barbaric. I call it practical." Kwan-ho looked at the containers with new respect, and perhaps a little fear. "How many have we built?" "How many have we built?" 12,000. We have positioned them throughout the Andromeda sector, hidden in asteroids, abandoned stations, and fake debris fields. The Council fleet will never see them coming. In another part of human space, Sang Ho-yoon trained his Special Forces team. They practiced moving in zero gravity, operating alien equipment, and surviving in extreme conditions. Sang-ho was a compact, muscular man who rarely smiled. His team called him the Ghost because he seemed to appear and disappear without warning. "Listen carefully," he told his soldiers. "When the Council fleet arrives, they will think they are facing our warships. They will not expect ground forces. They will not expect us to already be on their ships, in their stations, waiting. We have been infiltrating their supply depots for months. We know their security codes. We know their patrol routes. We know which species panic easily and which ones fight hard." One of his soldiers, a woman named Dal Nim, asked the obvious question. "What if they discover us before the battle starts?" Sang-ho met her eyes steadily. "Then we activate early and cause as much damage as possible before they kill us. Our mission is not to survive. Our mission is to create chaos in their ranks. If we can make them paranoid, make them question every shadow and every sound, we win even if we die." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what he meant. This was a suicide mission for many of them. But no one left. Meanwhile, Ji-woo Kang sat in her darkened office, surrounded by computer screens showing alien communication networks. She was intelligence director for all of human space, and she had accomplished something impossible. She had hacked into the Galactic Council's secure networks. "Show me their fleet deployment," she said to her team. Images appeared showing the massive assembly of ships gathering in Council space. 317 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled by the Council. It was designed to crush humanity completely. But Ji-woo noticed something interesting. The Council species were not working together smoothly. She could see encrypted messages showing disagreements between species. Some questioned the war. Others wanted even more aggressive action. The Council was not as united as they pretended. "Can we exploit this?" asked her second in command. Ji-woo smiled. "We already are. I have been sending carefully crafted messages to different species. Nothing obvious. Just small suggestions. Seeds of doubt. By the time their fleet arrives, they will be questioning each other instead of trusting each other." Back in the underground command center, Mi-young Park joined Admiral Cho. She carried a data pad filled with reports from every human colony and military unit. The preparations were nearly complete. "Do you think we can win?" she asked quietly. It was a question she would never ask in public. But here, alone with the Admiral, she could admit her doubts. Dong-min considered carefully before answering. "Win? That depends on your definition. Can we destroy their fleet? Yes. I believe we can." Can we do it without terrible losses? No. Many humans will die in this battle. Many colonies will be damaged. But will we remain free? Yes. That is the only victory that matters. Mi-young nodded. She had known the price would be high. Freedom always came with a price. There is something else, the Admiral continued. Our intelligence reports suggest that not all Council species support this war. 3 voted against it. Several others voted yes only because they were afraid to vote no. The Council is more fragile than it appears. If we can break their fleet, we might break their entire system. That could change everything, Mi-young said thoughtfully. Instead of just defending ourselves, we could reshape the entire galaxy. One battle at a time, the Admiral cautioned. First, we survive. Then we think about the future. Across human space, millions of people prepared. Civilians trained in basic combat. Factories worked around the clock producing weapons and ships. Scientists developed new technologies. Children as young as 10 learned emergency procedures. Everyone understood what was coming. The largest alien fleet in history would arrive in less than 30 days. It would try to force humanity to surrender. Humanity had already decided its answer. The answer was no. The answer would always be no. Tae-won Kim returned to Earth after his confrontation with the Council. He met with Mi-young and the Admiral in the command center. His face showed the exhaustion of his journey, but his eyes remained sharp. They truly believe they will win easily, he reported. They think we are bluffing. They think we will surrender when we see their full fleet. They cannot imagine that a weaker species would choose death over submission. Then they do not understand humans at all, Mi-young said softly. Good. Let them remain ignorant until it is too late. The countdown had begun. 27 days until the Council fleet arrived. 27 days to finish preparations. 27 days before humanity would show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of when cornered. The Council fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri exactly 30 days after their ultimatum. 317 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each ship was massive, armed with weapons that could destroy cities from orbit. The combined force represented the military might of 14 different alien species. It was beautiful and terrifying. On the bridge of the flagship, the Chieksthar War Marshal watched the displays, showing the Proxima system. He saw 3 human colonies on different planets. He saw orbital stations. He saw mining operations in the asteroid belt. And he saw only 42 human warships waiting to defend it all. This is almost disappointing, the War Marshal said to his bridge crew. I expected more resistance. His tactical officer, a Vrelian named Corvan, was less confident. The War Marshal made a dismissive gesture with his massive claws. Carefully? We outnumber them 8-1. This battle will be over in hours. Prepare to broadcast surrender terms. But before he could give the order, alarms began screaming throughout the fleet. The tactical displays showed hundreds of new contacts. Small objects were accelerating from the asteroid belt, from the planets, from what appeared to be empty space. They moved at incredible speeds. What are those? The War Marshal demanded. Corvan's eyes widened in horror. Kinetic weapons. Nuclear devices. They are not using energy shields. Our shields cannot stop solid matter moving at those speeds. The first wave of Heijin's cargo containers struck the fleet. They punched through energy shields like they did not exist. When they detonated, nuclear fire bloomed in the darkness of space. 12 Council ships disappeared in the first 10 seconds. 20 more sustained critical damage. The fleet scattered, breaking formation in panic. This was not how battles were supposed to work. This was not honorable combat. This was slaughter. All ships, return fire, the War Marshal roared. Find those launch platforms and destroy them. But the platforms were hidden, scattered, and automated. Every time the Council destroyed one, 3 more activated. The humans had turned the entire Proxima system into a weapon. High above Proxima 4, pilot Hyun-Sik Nam led his fighter squadron into the chaos. His ship was small and old compared to Council fighters, but it was fast and maneuverable. More importantly, Hyun-Sik had no intention of returning from this battle. All wings, remember the plan, he broadcast to his squadron. We are the hammer. We strike hard. We strike once. Make it count. His squadron dove toward the Council capital ships. Point defense systems opened fire, filling space with deadly energy beams. 2 of his pilots died in seconds. 3 more took critical damage. But Hyun-Sik kept flying, kept pushing his damaged fighter forward. The Council crews watched in disbelief as the human fighters did not try to evade or retreat. They accelerated directly toward the capital ships, taking hit after hit, never wavering. By the time the Council crews understood what was happening, it was too late. Hyun-Sik's fighter, along with 8 others, crashed into the Council ships at maximum speed. The explosions were smaller than the nuclear devices, but they struck at critical points. Engineering sections, bridge towers, weapons arrays. Each impact was calculated to cause maximum damage. Hyun-Sik's last thought before impact was simple and clear. Deep in the asteroid belt, Sang Ho-yoon and his Special Forces team activated inside a Council supply depot. They had been hiding here for 3 weeks, waiting in the cold and darkness. Now was their moment. Team Alpha, secure the hangar. Team Beta, sabotage their fuel reserves. Team Gamma, with me to the command center, Sang-ho ordered quietly. They moved like ghosts through the station. The few Council personnel they encountered died before they could raise alarms. Sang-ho's team had studied each species' biology. They knew where to cut, where to stab, where to shoot, for instant kills. In the command center, Sang-ho accessed the station's systems. Within minutes, he transmitted false reports to the Council fleet. Reports of human reinforcements arriving. Reports of Council ships suffering mutinies. Reports designed to create fear and confusion. Then he activated the station's self-destruct sequence and led his team to the escape pods. Their mission was complete. On Proxima 4, Governor Soo-bin Choi stood on the walls of the colony's main settlement. She was a grandmother, a scientist, and now a warrior. Every adult in her colony carried a weapon. Every building was fortified. Every street was trapped. They are coming, her assistant warned, pointing to the sky where Council landing craft descended through the atmosphere. Soo-bin raised her rifle calmly. Let them come. This is our home. We will make them pay for every meter of ground. The Council soldiers who landed expected frightened colonists ready to surrender. Instead, they found a population that fought like cornered animals. Civilians used hunting rifles, homemade explosives, and even farming tools as weapons. Buildings exploded when Council troops entered. Children threw acid bombs from windows. The elderly operated hidden gun emplacements. It was brutal. It was savage. It was effective. Back in space, Tae-won Kim coordinated the defense from his command ship. He watched the battle unfold on multiple displays. The Council was losing. They had come with overwhelming force, but they were not prepared for humanity's total commitment to victory at any cost. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the Council flagship, his communications officer reported. The War Marshal wants to negotiate. The War Marshal wants to negotiate. We have a finally well again. We have a Grambraktis set it. We have a findly set it. Ontenged. We have a finded of ther. We have a findly set it. We have a finded of. Tae-won allowed himself a cold smile. Put him through. The War Marshal's face appeared on screen. He looked shocked and angry. Ambassador Kim, this is madness. Your people are using suicide attacks. Your colonies are fighting to the death. This is not civilized warfare. Call them off and we can discuss terms. No. Tae-won said simply. You came here to force us to surrender. Did you expect us to make it easy for you? Did you think we would follow your rules? We told you what would happen. You chose not to listen. We are still winning, the war marshal insisted, though his voice lacked confidence. We have more ships. We have better weapons. Eventually you will lose. Taewon leaned forward, his eyes hard as steel. Perhaps. But the question is whether you can afford the cost of victory. How many more ships can you lose? How many more soldiers? How many more battles like this before your own people start questioning whether this war is worth it? The war marshal had no answer. At that moment, Ji-Woo's intelligence hack activated throughout the council fleet. Every ship received doctored communications, showing other ships retreating or surrendering. Captains began questioning orders. Species began suspecting each other of betrayal. The carefully maintained unity of the council fleet crumbled. The battle raged for 8 more hours. When it finally ended, the council fleet retreated. They left behind 190 destroyed or crippled ships. They retreated with their survivors traumatized and broken. But victory came with a terrible price. Proxima IV was in ruins. 40,000 colonists died defending their homes. Governor Subin Choi was among them. She died standing on her walls, rifle in hand, defending her colony to her last breath. 15,000 human soldiers and pilots died in space. Hyun Sik Nam and most of his squadron were gone. Sang Ho Yoon survived, but half his special forces team did not. When Admiral Dongmin Cho saw the casualty reports, he sat in silence for a long time. Victory felt like ash in his mouth. Mi-young Park stood beside him, reading the same reports. Tears ran down her face. So many dead. Was it worth it? The Admiral looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. Ask me that question when humanity is still free. Then, I will tell you if it was worth it. Throughout human space, people mourned their dead and celebrated their survival. The galaxy watched in shock. Humanity had defeated the largest fleet the Council had ever assembled. They had done it through tactics so ruthless, so brutal, that many species could barely comprehend it. In the Council chambers, species representatives argued bitterly. Some wanted immediate revenge. Others wanted to withdraw completely. And a few brave voices began suggesting that perhaps humanity had been right all along. 3 weeks after the battle at Proxima Centauri, the Galactic Council reconvened. But the chamber felt different now. The unity that once held 17 species together was cracking like old ice. The Vrelian High Chancellor looked older than before. His blue skin had lost some of its gleam. His 4 eyes scanned the chamber, counting who remained loyal and who did not. We must discuss the human situation. We cannot allow one more defeat. A small, furry species called the Delcari stood from their seat. Their representative, a diplomat named Ixthal, spoke in a trembling voice. With respect, Chancellor, the Delcari Union is withdrawing from this war. We joined the Council for protection and peace. This war brings neither. We will not send more of our people to die. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. For a council member to withdraw from military action was almost unheard of. But Ixthal continued bravely. We have reviewed historical records. Every species that joined this council was given the same choice humans received. Submit to protection or face consequences. Most of us submitted because we feared the alternative. But now we see that humans chose differently and survived. Perhaps we made the wrong choice. The war marshal slammed his desk again, cracking the metal surface. You speak treason, Delcari. The Council maintains order in this galaxy. Without us, there would be chaos. Without you, there would be freedom. Ixthal replied quietly, then sat down. 2 other species stood and announced their withdrawal from the war. The chamber descended into shouting and accusations. The Chancellor struggled to maintain order. On Earth, Mi-young Park watched the council transmission with growing interest. She sat in her office with her senior advisor, a sharp-minded woman named Young A. Han. Young A was a xenobiologist who had spent years studying alien species and cultures. "This is exactly what we hoped would happen," Mi-young said with satisfaction. "The council is fracturing. They are questioning themselves." Young A nodded, but her expression was thoughtful. "I have been reviewing our intelligence on council member species. Most of them are peaceful by nature. They joined the council because they were afraid of species like the Cheek-Star. The council promised protection. But now, they see that the council itself might be the threat." "Can we exploit this?" Mi-young asked. "I think we can do better than exploit it. I think we can offer them something real. An alternative." Young A pulled up documents, showing her research. "I have been communicating secretly with a Vrelian scientist. She wants to defect. She has information about how the council really operates. It is worse than we thought." Mi-young leaned forward with interest. "Tell me." "The council was formed thousands of years ago by 3 aggressive species. They convinced other species to join by creating threats, then offering protection from those same threats. It was never about peace. It was always about control. The peaceful species figured this out over time. But by then, they were too dependent on council technology and military protection to leave. So they are trapped," Mi-young said, understanding. "Just like the council wanted to trap us," Young A smiled. "Exactly. But if we offer them an alternative, if we show them they can be free and safe without the council, everything changes." Across human space, Taewon Kim was having similar conversations through secret diplomatic channels. 4 council species had reached out to him privately. They did not want to continue the war. Some even suggested they might ally with humanity against the council's aggressive members. One message came from a species called the Penthari. Their ambassador wrote, "We have watched humans fight for freedom with courage we forgot we once had. Our ancestors would be ashamed of what we have become. Help us remember how to stand on our own. RP. We want 7B. We want 7B. Taewon shared these messages with Mi-young during their next strategy meeting. Admiral Dongmin Cho was also present, looking less tired than before. The victory at Proxima had bought them time, and humans had used that time to rebuild and reinforce. If we accept allies from within the council, we change the nature of this war, the Admiral observed. It becomes a civil war among council species, not just humans against the galaxy. It was always going to become that, Mi-young said. The council is built on a lie. Once that lie is exposed, the whole structure collapses. We are just helping it collapse faster. Taewon pulled up a star map showing council space. I propose we offer secret treaties to the moderate species. We promise to defend them if they break from the council. We share defensive technology, but not offensive weapons. We help them rebuild their own military forces, so they do not need council protection. The aggressive species will not accept this peacefully, Admiral Cho warned. The Cheek-Star especially. They benefit most from the current system. They will see any change as a threat. Let them, Mi-young said firmly. We have proven we can fight them. But more importantly, we can offer something better than fear and control. We can offer real partnership among equals. Young A looked up from her data pad. I have more news. My Vrelian contact has arrived on a human station. She brought detailed information about council, military plans. She also brought something unexpected. 3 more Vrelian scientists want to defect. They are tired of serving a corrupt system. The meeting continued late into the night as they planned their next moves. Humanity would not just defend itself anymore. It would actively work to dismantle the council from within. Meanwhile, in council space, the war marshal met secretly with representatives from 2 other aggressive species. They gathered in a secure location, away from the official council chambers. The war marshal's rage had only grown since the defeat at Proxima. The Council is weak, he told his co-conspirators. They want to negotiate with humans. They want to show mercy. This will destroy everything we built. A reptilian diplomat named Skartok agreed. Our species have maintained order in this galaxy for thousands of years. We cannot allow lesser species to challenge us. Not the humans. Not the Delcari. Not any of them. The third member of their group, an insectoid called Vrex 9, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Then we must take control. The council structure has served its purpose. Perhaps it is time for more direct rule. They began planning a coup. They would remove the Vrelian chancellor and the moderate species from power. They would establish military rule over council space, and they would finish the war with humanity through total extermination. But what they did not know was that Jiwu's intelligence network had infiltrated even this secret meeting. Every word they spoke was recorded and transmitted to Earth. When Taewon received the intelligence, he immediately shared it with the defecting species. Look, he told them in encrypted transmissions. This is what the aggressive species think of you. They call you weak. They plan to remove you from power. They never saw you as partners. They saw you as tools. The response was immediate and powerful. 6 more council species privately contacted Taewon, expressing interest in breaking away. The council was not just cracking, it was shattering. The Vrelian chancellor learned of the planned coup through his own intelligence sources. He faced an impossible choice. Stop the coup and risk civil war within the council, or allow it to happen and lose everything his civilization had worked for. He made a decision that would change history. He contacted Ambassador Taewon Kim directly, without telling the rest of the council. Ambassador, we need to talk, the chancellor said when Taewon's face appeared on his private screen. Not as enemies. As leaders who both want what is best for their people. Taewon studied the alien's face carefully. I am listening, Chancellor. The council is failing. I have known this for some time but lacked the courage to admit it. Your species forced us to see the truth. The system we built was unjust. It gave too much power to the strong and too little respect to the weak. The aggressive species are planning a coup. They want to establish military dictatorship over all council space. I know, Taewon said. My intelligence service has been monitoring them. The chancellor showed no surprise. Humans had proven their capabilities in intelligence gathering. Then you know we are running out of time. I want to propose something that would have been unthinkable months ago. A new council. One where all species have equal voice. One where membership is voluntary and respected. One built on the principles humans have been fighting for. Taewon sat back in his chair, considering. You are asking humans to help save the council? After everything that has happened? I am asking humans to help build something better, the chancellor corrected. Not to save what exists, but to create what should exist. Your species has shown us that the old ways are wrong. Help us build new ways. Our quote, Taewon thought of the 40,000 dead at Proxima 4. He thought of all the suffering this war had caused. Could they build something good from all that pain? I will discuss this with my government, he said finally. But Chancellor, understand this clearly. We will never submit to any system where we are not equal partners. Never again will humans bow to anyone. The Chancellor's 4 eyes showed what might have been respect. I would not expect anything less, Ambassador. That is exactly why we need you. Munta. 6 months after the battle at Proxima Centauri, representatives from 19 different species gathered at a neutral station between human and council space. The old council had officially dissolved 3 weeks earlier. What would replace it remained to be seen. Taewon Kim and Mi-young Park led the human delegation. They were joined by Admiral Dong-min Cho, who commanded a fleet positioned nearby as insurance. The humans trusted these negotiations, but they were not foolish. If the aggressive species attempted another attack, humanity would be ready. Also in the human delegation was a young woman named Bo-Ra Song. She was only 25 years old, but she had fought at Proxima 4 and survived. Mi Young had chosen her specifically to represent the next generation of humanity. The generation that would live with whatever they decided here. "Are you nervous?" Mi Young asked Bo-Ra as they prepared to enter the main conference hall. Bo-Ra thought about the question honestly. "Yes, but I am also hopeful. We proved that humans will fight for freedom. Now we get to prove we can build something worth having that freedom for." The conference hall was smaller than the old council chamber. There were no elevated platforms or assigned seating. Every species had an equal space at a circular table. It was symbolic but important. No one stood above anyone else here. The Vrelian ex-chancellor, who now represented his species as an equal rather than a leader, opened the discussion. "We gather here to build something new, something that has never existed in this galaxy, a true alliance of free species, equal in voice, equal in rights, equal in responsibility." A Delcari representative named Ixthal spoke next. "We must begin by acknowledging our mistakes. Most of us submitted to the old council because we were afraid. We accepted control. In exchange for protection, we forgot that freedom has value beyond safety. Humans reminded us of this truth at terrible cost." There were murmurs of agreement around the table. Even species that had once supported the war against humanity now admitted they had been wrong. But not everyone present was pleased with these developments. In a separate part of the station, the Kixthar War Marshal met with his allies from 2 other aggressive species. They had not been invited to the main negotiations, but they refused to be ignored. "This is weakness disguised as progress," the War Marshal growled. "Equal rights for all species means the strong cannot guide the weak. It means chaos. It means the end of order." Skartok, the reptilian diplomat, nodded in agreement. "We should attack now, while they are gathered together. One strike could eliminate the leadership of all these rebellious species." But Vrex9, the insectoid, was more cautious. "The human fleet waits nearby. Admiral Cho commands over 100 warships now, and we have intelligence that several moderate species have also brought military escorts. We are outnumbered." The War Marshal's rage was visible on his face. "Then what do you suggest? That we submit to this new order? That we accept being reduced to equals with species that should serve us?" "I suggest we bide our time," Vrex9 said carefully. "This new alliance will fail on its own. Species are too different. They will argue and fracture. When they do, we will be ready to restore proper order." Unknowingly to them, Jiwoo's intelligence agents were monitoring their conversation. Every word was transmitted to the negotiation room, where Tae-Won received it on a private device. He glanced at the message and shared it discreetly with Mi Young. She read it and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. Some species would never change. They would always see cooperation as weakness and domination as strength. The galaxy would have to deal with them eventually, but that was a problem for another day. Today was about building something new. Young A. Han presented the scientific and cultural exchange program she had designed. "We propose that all member species share knowledge freely, not as trade, not as payment, but as mutual benefit. Humans will share our experience with asymmetric warfare and unconventional problem-solving. Other species will share their advanced technology and their thousands of years of spacefaring experience. Together, we become stronger than any of us could be alone." A Penthari representative stood to speak. The Penthari were a gentle species that had been among the first to contact humans privately. "My people remember when we were explorers and discoverers. We remember when we made our own decisions and followed our own dreams. The old council took that from us slowly, piece by piece, until we forgot we ever had it. We want to remember. We want our children to grow up free like human children grow up free." Bo-Ra found herself moved by the alien's words. She stood up, surprising even her own delegation. "I fought At Proxima 4, I watched 40,000 humans die defending their homes. I watched Governor Subin Choi die on the walls she refused to abandon. I am angry that so many died. But I understand why they fought. She looked around the table at the various alien faces watching her. They fought because living without freedom is not really living. It is just existing. They fought because they wanted their children and grandchildren to live in a galaxy where no one could take their choices away. That is what we are building here. Not just an alliance. Not just a treaty. We are building a promise that every species at this table will defend every other species' right to be free. The room fell silent. Then the Vrelian ex-chancellor began clapping slowly. Others joined in, creating a strange symphony of sounds as different species showed approval in their own ways. Taewon stood and began outlining the formal structure of what they were calling the Galactic Assembly. Every member species has one vote. No species has veto power. Decisions require a 2/3 majority for military action and a simple majority for other matters. Membership is voluntary. Any species can leave at any time without penalty. No member species can conquer or control another member species. We will establish a mutual defense force, but it will only activate when a member is attacked, never to force compliance. Admiral Cho presented the military framework. The mutual defense fleet will be composed of ships from all member species. Command will rotate between species every year. No permanent military leader. No permanent military hierarchy beyond individual ship crews. We will train together. We will develop joint tactics. But each species maintains its own military, first and foremost. The negotiations continued for 3 days. There were arguments about details, disagreements about procedures, and lengthy debates about trade regulations. But slowly, piece by piece, they built something unprecedented. On the 3rd day, they voted. 14 species voted to join the Galactic Assembly immediately. 3 others voted to observe, for 1 year, before deciding. Only 2 species rejected the proposal entirely and left the negotiations. The Vrelian ex-chancellor stood to make the final announcement. Today we end thousands of years of controlled peace and begin an uncertain future of genuine freedom. We do this because humans showed us that uncertainty with freedom is better than certainty with chains. He looked directly at Taewon. Ambassador Kim, months ago I asked you why humans were so different. You said perhaps you had been conquered too many times in your own history. Perhaps you remembered what it meant to lose freedom. I have thought about that answer often. I believe now that humans are not different. You simply had the courage to fight for what every species wants deep in their hearts. Thank you for that courage. Thank you for forcing us to find our own. The signing ceremony was formal, but joyful. Each species representative signed the charter in their own language and with their own customs. When it was finished, they had created something that had never existed before. A truly voluntary alliance of equals. Mi Young stood with Bo Ra, watching the celebrations. Do you think it will last? The young woman asked. Maybe not forever, Mi Young admitted. But it will last as long as each species remembers why we built it. As long as they remember that freedom is worth fighting for. As long as they remember the price we paid at Proxima 4. Across the galaxy, the Kixthar War Marshal and his allies established their own confederation. 3 aggressive species who refused to accept the new order. They began building a fleet, planning for future conflict. But they were now isolated. Viewed with suspicion, even by neutral species. Their confederation would eventually collapse under its own internal conflicts. But that would take 5 more years. For now, humans and their new allies celebrated. They had rejected every peace offer that came wrapped in chains. They had fought when fighting seemed impossible. They had suffered terrible losses. But they had won, not just survival, but the chance to build something better. Admiral Dongmin Cho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the celebrations through his viewscreen. Beside him was Sang Ho Yoon, the Special Forces commander who had survived so many suicide missions. They did not celebrate loudly, like others did. They were warriors who had seen too much death. Was it worth it? Sang Ho asked quietly, echoing the question Mi Young had asked months before. The admiral thought of Governor Subin Choi standing on her walls. He thought of pilot Hyun Sik Nam, flying his damaged fighter into an enemy ship. He thought of the 40,000 dead and the thousands more who would carry scars forever. Ask their children, he said finally. Ask the next generation, who will grow up in a galaxy where no one can force them to surrender their freedom. Ask them if their parents' sacrifice was worth it. I think I know what they will say. In a laboratory on Mars, Hee-Jin Lee worked with Young-A Han and a team of mixed-species scientists. They were developing new technologies together, sharing knowledge freely. Hee-Jin, who had built weapons of mass destruction to defend humanity, now built tools of creation to benefit all species. It is strange, she said to Young-A. For so long I made things to kill. Now I make things to help. I prefer this. Young-A smiled. You made things to kill so that we could have the freedom to make things to help. Both were necessary. 5 years after the signing of the Galactic Assembly Charter, the Assembly had grown to include 23 species. Trade flourished. Scientific advances accelerated. Joint exploration missions discovered new worlds. And when the Keeksthar Confederation finally attempted one last invasion against a small member species, the Assembly fleet responded immediately and decisively. The Confederation collapsed within months. Taewon Kim, now retired from active diplomacy, sat in a garden on Earth with his grandchildren. They asked him about the war, about the Council, about why so many people had to die. He thought carefully about how to explain it to children. The galaxy was run by people who believed that strong species should control weak ones. They believed order was more important than freedom. Your parents and grandparents proved them wrong. We showed that every species deserves freedom. We showed that cooperation between equals is stronger than control from above. We paid a terrible price for that lesson, but we paid it willingly. Would you do it again? His granddaughter asked. Taewon looked at her freedom to ask questions and think independently, at her future in a galaxy where she would never be forced to submit to anyone. Yes, he said simply. 1,000 times yes, and across the galaxy, in countless languages, and on countless worlds, species that had once been controlled, now lived free. The Council was gone. The Assembly had replaced it. The turmoil had ended not with humanity accepting peace on someone else's terms, but with the galaxy accepting peace on everyone's terms. It had all started with a simple word. A word spoken by one human standing alone before 17 alien species. A word that changed everything. No.